Alright guys, the newly added Fever case brought some amazing new knives to CS2, and I wanted to make a dedicated video showcasing all of them with timestamps down below so you guys can check them out and see how they look in game if you want to pick one up once they are tradable. And one thing to note is I'm not going to be discussing the prices yet because they've only been in the game for 2 days as we're recording this and they can't be sold for a further 5, so we'll have to wait and see on the prices. But let me know in the comments down below what your 3 favourite knives from these new additions are, and let's get into it. Gonna kick it off on the skeleton knives because I feel like they are, without a doubt, the most popular. We have the skeleton knife Tiger Tooth here. This finish looks absolutely incredible. This is for sure one that I can see becoming popular for loadouts. Obviously, skeleton knife, and this goes for all the skeleton knives I'm going to showcase, has the slight issue of the draw animation. That one's great. The default one, not so great. So with that in mind, I'm really interested to see how these sit in price in comparison to the other chroma finishes. But overall, Tiger Tooth on this blade looks sick. I will preface for all of the barrel fades that it's not my favourite finish in the game. I don't really love it that much. However, on the skeleton knife, because the pattern goes all the way down to the bottom of the handle, it's actually kind of cool that you can see like basically goes blue, yellow, orange, into the sort of purpley blue, back into yellow at the bottom. So depending on the patterns on this, you might be able to get something that looks kind of nice on the blade. But out of the new bunches, I wouldn't put this that high. Now, the finishes that we all love are the Dopplers. They are finally arrived on these knives, which means we're going to have Skeleton, Nomad, Paracord, and Survival gems to showcase today, which is amazing. This is the Phase 1, and I'll just say it now, all of the Dopplers look fantastic on the Skeleton blade. They actually look quite good in all of these knives. Then, obviously, we have the Phase 2, or the pink gems as we know it. Now, I haven't looked through all the patterns. Obviously, all the Dopplers are pattern-based as well, so you'll get some that have a more preferable pattern here or there. Maybe you get a proper full pink blade. All of that goodness, but overall, pink with the black accent on the wrap at the bottom. Very sick knife. Phase 3 is the Doppler finish I've actually started to really like because I actually quite like that blue and the green element, and this looks amazing as well. As I said, all the skeleton knives for Doppler finishes look absolutely incredible, and yeah, just wait till we get to the gems. And here is the Phase 4 for context, just before we do get to the gems. Personally, out of the normal phases, Phase 2 and Phase 3 for me look the absolute best on this knife. And honestly, the Tiger Tooth isn't far off them. I think the Tiger Tooth on the skeleton looks amazing. Now, let's go to the gems. First of all, we have the Ruby, which I think, from what I've seen so far, is the most popular for the skeleton knife. I think it's just because that black and red vibe looks absolutely amazing. Obviously, some people don't really love the fact that the handle is just like black duct tape around it, but I think that visually creates a very nice color contrast, and it just allows that red blade to shine. Like, it looks really nice. Then we have the lovely Sapphire, but now I think this still looks amazing. It's not like the old Sapphires of CSGO. I know that's sad for some people, and the pricing for it, is it worth the overpay? Probably not. But one thing that was really interesting for the first few hours was Valve actually broke the code for the odds on these. So we were seeing gem knives dropped at the same rate, actually at the start a bit higher than normal phases. So they fixed that seemingly, which means we're not going to have a big oversupply of gems, but the early supply was heavier in the favor of gems because all the odds were even and people were getting lucky, which is kind of insane. And then one of my favorites, the Black Pearl, which honestly, like, look at this Black Pearl skeleton with Nox. Now I'm using Nox because I think they're the best default glove in the game, but the black wrap with the Black Pearl, that nice purpley midnight sky galaxy vibe is just there. Absolutely incredible. Now, to bring you back down to earth, of if you are lucky enough to inbox one, what you're probably going to get, and this is a rust coat skeleton. Now, I've generated for all the rust coats 0.6 float, so it's in battle scar, but it's not crazy high. It gives you an idea of how they're going to look. Really interested to see what the price comes in at this, because this, along with the next two, might actually become like budget friendly knife pickups for people, which will be something different in game, which is nice. We have the Ultraviolet here, which honestly, Ultraviolet for this, and specifically the Nomad Ultraviolet looks amazing. We'll get to that in a bit. But again, I think this wrap is thin and almost useless as it looked. Visually, I think it adds quite a lot to these finishes because you do get that contrasting color. And then we have the Damascus Steel, which is the last skeleton to showcase. Once again, this, much like the rust coat, and probably the Ultraviolet, will be on the more budget-friendly side of things. For me, the Dopplers and the Tiger Tooth are kind of like the showpiece of the new knives. That is always going to be the way. But really nice to see how good the Tiger Tooth is looking. It's not far off those normal fused Dopplers. Now, survival. This has been a love-hate knife in my community, but my god, I am looking forward to the day these are reasonably priced, because I'm going to have to pick up one. This is a Tiger Tooth Survival. It looks insane. Obviously, that plasticky handle isn't for everyone, but I like that it's just this black handle, and then all about the finish. And I actually quite like, I know CS generally people prefer clean blade. I quite like this blade with like the little marks and the gaps in it. It just looks mean. And then once again, my personal bias is going to come in a little bit. This is the Marble Fade Survival. It's not necessarily a bad knife. It's just not one I would want to go and pick up myself. But obviously that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it and you can't pick it up. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to enjoy the game and rock skins that we like. So if you like the Marble Fade and this comes in at a good price, then GG for you. Then onto the more important bits. We have Dopplers on these. Actually, the Phase 1 looks pretty mean, because that's like a heavy amount of like purpley blue, then a big bit of pink, and then that tip of purple. I think there's going to be, I think survival knife particularly, because of the sort of gaps and the style of the knife, there's going to be some very, very interesting pattern finishes to have on these. Then the pink gem, my god, much like I was saying, when the patterns can come in such a way that the darker spots would be where there's gaps in the knives, we might be able to get some absolutely perfect pink gems in, which will be really, really nice. Then we have one of my more recent favourites, as I mentioned, for the skeleton, the Phase 3 knife. Absolutely love this. I think the only thing that maybe is a little bit contrasty for some people is black handle onto blue. I know it's not for everyone, but overall, I think this looks pretty damn good. I am hoping that the survival knives will come in line with like Huntsman and Bowie knife pricing, because if so, we have some insane pickups to get. And then once again, before we get onto the gems, we have a lovely Phase 4. Now, there you go, that's the rare inspect for the survival, if you're not aware, or the rare draw animation, sorry, not inspect, but it's very nice when you get it. When you get a kill and you pull the knife out and it does that, like that toss-up, very clean. Then we have the Ruby, and I'm going to keep it real. I know the skeleton blade itself looks better than the survival knife, and the animations, when you do get the spinning stuff, are better. 100%, that's fine, and it's going to be more expensive because of that. But black handle, very strong. Like, I'm going to say one of the best size blades for gem knives. When you get gems, if you go too small, like a stiletto, which I did run, obviously you're not getting, your pixel density is not that high. If you go for a big blade like a Bowie, you get like, even an M9, you get dark spots more regularly. I think the survival blade might actually be one of the best size blades to make sure that you can get really nice patterns and like the max color that you want. Then we have a lovely Sapphire. Honestly, I do like how this Sapphire looks. If this price, rather than being where it's at now, was like more in line, I don't say closer to normal phases, but if it was between like normal phases and like what the other gems are, and it was actually like in the middle, I could reasonably suggest this to people. But because it's still much higher than normal phases, it's a little bit hard, because it does look good. Now finally on the Doppler side, we have the Black Pearl. Oh my goodness, this looks good. Man, Valve cooked with this update. I know we've been waiting for these knives to come for years now. I mean, I say years. I've been playing for 3 years. I think even since then, people were asking for them. We still need gamma finishes on these. We still need gamma finishes on the likes of the Stiletto. But this is a really, really nice addition to see. Then, like I say, we go back to reality with a rust coat. And this, for certain, is going to become a budget-friendly knife. So if you like that rare inspect, the rare draw animation where it throws up in the air, and you like this mean blade, keep an eye on the rust coat, because this will become a very reasonable price. Then Ultraviolet is honestly becoming a dub. I never disliked the Ultraviolet, but I never loved it. The recent month or two, I've started to appreciate it a lot more. And honestly, with that plasticky handle, I think the purple actually works quite well, because like it's more fitting off that style than the black would. And the black blade just always looks kind of mean. One thing to note actually, and it's the same for the Dopplers, the survival knife does have the issue that the gut knife has, where like those little weird curve accents are actually remaining silver rather than getting the finished detail. But I don't think it's as bad as how the gut looks. And then we have the Damascus steel once again, and much like the rust coat, this should become a nice sort of budget friendly knife. I'm saying this, obviously, we need the supply to be there and the demand to be reasonable so that they actually do sort of settle on pricing. So maybe they're not going to be budget friendly for the first month, but I foresee that they will come down, as I said, into that Huntsman, Bowie, maybe lower than those for pricing. Now, you're going to have to wait to see the Nomad. I'm going to go for the Paracord first, because I actually have a soft spot for this knife, and I want to show it some love. This is the Tiger Tooth finish. Once again, we're 3 for 3 on the Tiger Tooth. Looking amazing with this knife. It's actually a finish that doesn't clash with the Paracord wrap, which is actually kind of nice to see, and that'll open up some combo options. Now, the Paracord is one of these longer knives, so for marble fade, obviously it means you can get max color pattern, but as we move on to the Dopplers, it might be one where we have more of those dark spots coming through on some patterns. But overall, it doesn't look too bad. You do get a little bit of the marble fade color right onto the bottom of the handle of the Paracord, but you don't really see it as much as you did on the skeleton. And it's time for the Dopplers. This is the Phase 1. Now, I think it was on the Survival where we were able to say you went like from that purpley into the pink into the purpley, and it looked quite clean. Whereas here, you have purple all the way at the bottom, then you've got pink into the purple, into pink, into purple again. So depending on what you like, this could be a dub, or maybe you don't like that variation too much. And obviously, pattern-based, as I say, but this is what to expect with these longer blades. For example, I'm wondering if the pink gem will come out. You know what? It doesn't come out too bad. That's a lot of pink. Obviously, this is just one pattern, but you can see where there's a sort of long hole in the knife. You can see a dark spot at the top of that, but overall, it comes out very pink, which is actually kind of nice to see. I think the only... for the Tiger Tooth, it was fine. And the only issue I see people having is that maybe this Paracord wrap handle doesn't look stellar with the blade, and that might be a personal preference. I think I can live with it, but hopefully that drives price down a little bit. Just fingers crossed. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking Phase 3 will look good. And that's the rare draw animation. And Phase 3 does look good, man. I'm screenshotting that. I think that might have to become a pickup for me at some point. I really like the Phase 3 finish these last couple of months, and I think if you can get one with that lighter blue, it's right in the middle of the blade, like this, absolutely stunning knife. It's a little weird because I used to prefer the Phase 4 because I was like, oh, it looks more purple, but just these last few months I have shifted towards the Phase 3, but this is the Phase 4 here. If you're wondering, obviously this is more in line with that sort of purple color without having to go for a black pearl, and you know, again, it is looking pretty damn good. These knives are definitely refreshing to have. Then we're onto the gem side. Now here is the Ruby. Now this is where I was saying, and obviously again could be pattern based, but in the middle of this knife there is a fat amount of orange, or I'm going to call it orange. Obviously I do have digital vibrance up a little bit, so that might be playing a factor in it, and it depends on how the light hits it. For example, here it looks more orangey, here looks more red, and that obviously will change for every map. I personally prefer Nuke for looking at combos because I think it's the best sort of neutral lighting for the game. Then we have the Sapphire, absolutely cooking once again. Looks tremendous actually. Not many dark spots in this one coming through. Really nice blend of the blue and the purple. As I mentioned though, pricing is just the issue with Sapphires. But visually, if you were to unbox this and you run it for a week and sell it, you're going to have a good week. And then finally on the gem side of things, we have the Black Pearl, which looks tremendous on this blade, I have to say. Obviously, Paracord lacks a little bit in the animation side of things. This is a normal draw animation. You got to see the rare one earlier where it tosses it. And inspect-wise, it's basically all of this, where it goes like up and down. Or you can get one where it'll toss it in the hand, which I'm going to try and force for you guys. However, getting it to... Yes, here we go. This is the rare inspect animation. So animations obviously lack, and that will keep price a bit lower. Man, we could be looking down the line at some very good knives that come in at a reasonable price in accordance to the CS market. Okay, I appreciate I'm waffling, so these more budget-friendly ones, we can skim over. This is how the rust coat looks. As always, it looks like a rust coat. There's not too much to say about this. It's a decent budget knife. Not too much to write home about. Ultraviolet should, and it does. I like this. It does a purple, and a very bright purple of that hand wrap. I could already see this with maybe like Imperial Blades because the purple would bleed onto the purple, and in the black, this could actually look pretty good because of how bright that wrap handle is. And then finally, we have the Damascus steel. Now, this is actually a very shiny, what should be budget knife. Damascus steel is one that, for me personally, I don't love the pattern. I actually prefer the likes of the camel patterns to this, but some people out there like this, and here you go. You've got another nice option to have in the rotation. Now, the last knife, the Nomad, let's have a look. First up, we have the Tiger Tooth. Now, this blade looks mean, but I would say out of the four we have, this is probably my least favorite for the Tiger Tooth, and I'm going to get to it when we get down to the Ultraviolet, but I'll mention it now because it will impact a lot of the finishes. The actual casing handle for the Nomad is the area I think it sometimes has some issues. The draw animation is nice. You do get the rare one where like it shakes the hand. I'm trying to see if I can force it. I cannot right now. And the inspects are pretty cool. It's a good looking knife, but I always find that that silver accent on the handle can clash with finishes. So just keep that in mind as we go. This is actually a good example of it. I think the silver into the marble fade here is a little lackluster, if I'm going to be honest. I don't like having... There's so many colors already on the blade. You've got like 4 colors coming through in the blade minimum into silver and into black. Maybe you like this. It's not my cup of tea. And there you go. That is the rare draw animation for you. Then we have the Doppler Phase 1. Now, this blade-wise looks better. However, again, I'm not really sure on this silver bit. Maybe it doesn't bug some of you guys, and maybe you wouldn't care that much. I know once I'm in-game, and I'm actually running around with an AK, and I'm just quickly getting the knife out for speed and everything, it's not going to make too much of a difference. But for me, visually, I'm not 100% sure on that yet. The ones where I'm thinking maybe it could see a face would be like the finishes where it's mostly one color. For example, the Phase 2 where it's heavily pink. Big dark spot in the middle of this pattern for context. But I think it definitely looks... This looks better than the Phase 1 because it is basically pink, silver, black, as Phase 1 is 2 colors, silver, black. Phase 3 is one that actually looks a little bit better, I think, because of the colors that are on it. Obviously, it's that light blue and a bit of a deeper blue on it. It has green spot as well, I think, technically, is what I'm going to call that light blue. No, it doesn't clash as heavily as the likes of the marble fade, that's for sure. Again, Phase 3 continues to be a dub finish. And then Phase 4, as, I mean, it makes sense to go Phase 1 to 4, and then look at the gems, in my opinion. So this is going to be the budget sort of purple Doppler finish on the Nomad. And actually, purple looked good with black. So this one in the Phase 2 in particular, I think out of everything so far, look the best on the Nomad finish, especially with the handle casing. Whereas before, I love the Damascus. Time to see if my theory of one color works. This is the Ruby. Now, it's just interesting to see gems on these different knives. This looks good, but as much as I like the Nomad knife, I'm gonna keep it real. I think for these, all 3 others are better. I think Skeleton, Survival, and Paracord are better than the Nomad for this because of that silver black handle. And I hope this doesn't come across as me cooking it in the Nomad knife, because I actually quite like it. I was considering getting one myself before I picked up the Butterfly Force DD-Pat. Here is the Sapphire, which once again, I think the other blades just look better for the Sapphire as well. Don't know what it is. There's just something about it not selling me. But my hopes are that the Black Pearl might be a bit different. Yeah, okay, Black Pearl is a little bit different. The one thing with the Nomad blade that's kind of nice, and you see it more on the Dopplers. If I hold it kind of here, you can see that there's 3 different like accent positions on the knife here, which means you see the pattern a little bit differently. Even in low lighting, you can kind of see where those lines are. For the shape of the blade. Basically, the shape of the blade has 3 elements to it. It changes how it looks, which is kind of cool. Again, one firm color within the silver and the black isn't too bad. At this point, if you just want to use the Nomad knife because you like that style the most and you don't want to spend too much money, you have the good options like the rust coat for it. It's not selling me. Rust coat has never ticked my box, but I do prefer the likes of Paracord and Skeleton. Now, finally, we have the knife that I can give some love to on the Nomad, which is the Ultraviolet. This looks insane. Like, this is what I would like to see from other finishes on the Nomad. I want to see that silver change to whatever the accent color is. Now, I get on Dopplers, it didn't really make much sense. I don't know if they could have just done full black. But this looks amazing because that silver changes to the purple of the Ultraviolet, which means the handle's perfectly themed into the blade, which means you have no clash. It doesn't look out of place. This actually looks fantastic, and I was saying to Intercam, he said he likes this knife, and I think, and he couldn't figure out why. I think this is why. I think it's because it's actually custom themed for the handle, whereas many of them are. I know Paracord and Force DD-Pat get this as well, but most of the finishes on Nomad don't get this. And then we end up with the Damascus steel. Now, I was hoping this was going to be one where, because it's like silver into silver, maybe the handles, maybe it's better off saying grey. It's a silvery grey. It doesn't pair perfectly, but if this comes in at a good budget knife, then obviously it might be a shout for you. Now, there you go. That is all of the new knives that got added to the game a couple days ago with the Fever case. Now, if you are opening the Fever case, well, best of luck. I hope you pull one of these new insane knives. But if you're not, then, you know what? Just let me know which one you'd like in the comments down below. I want everyone to do that. Pick your 3 favorites down below. And I said to that one, a big thank you to the YouTube members that continue to support the channel. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We have another video coming tomorrow looking at all the new collection skins as well, so keep your eyes out for that. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.